So how has reading shaped your investment philosophy? But also, are there any books or I guess as you said, Wall Street wizards that you would recommend us reading?
There have been some books along the way, and I've got over 30 years, almost 40 years of collecting books and buying books. And I've got to say, I had a look the other day across my bookcase at home, and there are some extraordinary works up there and pieces. And I sort of thought about what are the four that if the ship goes down, I've got to get these books out of there and get them in my kit bag, and so I thought I would bring a couple along and share them. And I'll tell you the four books that are certainly available through Amazon and the like. The first one is from an author who is so highly regarded. He passed away in 2013, but was so highly regarded at the time this book was published by Wall Street's elite fund managers and traders, and that's Martin Zweig. And his book is called Winning on Wall Street by Martin Zweig, and he details how he approaches the business of investing. Some of the listeners will know of Jason Zweig, who writes for the Wall Street Journal. I did check they're not related, despite the potential connection.
Oh, right. Okay,
so they're not related, but Martin Zweig was as big a legend as you'll find, and passed away a number of years ago. So Winning on Wall Street, a must read. One by an Australian author. We don't get a lot of. There's a few books that have been written here, but not many of an impact or a calibre that I would rush into endorse. Taming the Lion was a book. I think it was first published in the mid 2000s and issued by Richard Farley. And Richard Farley now is I think he's semi-retired, lives in London now. His book on how he approaches the business of trading assets, trading stocks, and his rules are outstanding, and I regularly reflect back on them. I've quoted his rules of trading in quarterly reports that I've sent to our investors. He is as potent and as considered an investor as I've encountered. Fantastic, and he's an Aussie living in London. So Richard Farley's Taming the Lion. One with a really cringy title. Before everybody sort of cringes and maybe turns off, You Can Be a Stock Market Genius by Joel Greenblatt. You Can Be a Stock Market Genius by Joel Greenblatt is a very simple, straightforward book. It's outstanding. His observations, again, as a seasoned Wall Street fund manager, in that book are terrific. He's had subsequent books. None of them are as good as this one. This is the first. This is the best.
Yeah.
And the final one, I talked about Peter Lynch before. And I remember my late father, bought me this book for Christmas at the beginning of my investment career, and I didn't read it straight away, but I read it a number of years later, and I've since read it several times, and that's One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch, and that is a great primer for anyone looking to start the business of building a share portfolio and getting investing. One Up on Wall Street, there's a reason why it's a bestseller, and it's a bestseller every year because it's so readable and it's so real and accurate. So they're four books that have really informed on my reading. There's a longer list, of course, but if I had four, as I said, that I had to get out of the house before it went up in flames, those four are at the front door.
Nice.
They're not at the front door now, but they would be the front door if they needed to be.
Well, I'm glad you said One Up on Wall Street last, because as you were going through that list, I was feeling disappointed in myself. I hadn't read any of them. I'd read Joel Greenblatt's subsequent book, The Little Book That Beats the Market.
Yeah. Not as good.
So I've got three more on my reading list, but yeah, One Up on Wall Street is a absolute cracker. So phew, we got 1 out of 4.
Yeah.
So I guess in a world of real-time data, of hot takes, of media constantly baying for your clicks and views, how do you create space for like deep reflective thinking, and what role does that play for you and I guess your team more generally that you try and instill in them?
Spot on, Alec, and that is what is missing probably in my world. And I would think if fund managers and investors are being truthful, they'd probably say the same thing. Well, what is missing is thinking time.
Yeah,
is time to step away and just think about what I've just read, what I've just observed. Is something happening here that I need to be reacting to, or is this just more of the same noise? And I'm going to sit with what I've got. I'm going to sit with my exposures and my positions, and I'm going to move forward. the absence of thinking time, to your comment, reflective thinking is mission critical, and we've all got to work harder at earning that and finding time for it, because you have to process, and there's a lot of information on a daily, hourly, almost minute by minute basis that's got to be processed. You actually need time to sit back and think about processing it, because the big money is made in investing. The big money is made in the sitting, not the thinking. Now I've just borrowed that from someone else's toolkit, but the big money is made in just sitting in positions. And if you become too reactive to daily news flow and people's opinions and broker research reports, and if you become you'll never actually hold a position down long enough to make any money out of it. So you need to be able to stand back and in fact know when to fade or ignore someone's recommendation. And there are some analysts out there, heaven forbid, when they put a sell on something, it's actually a tacit buy recommendation, and you need to know how to react to that too. So I think it really is being able to ignore the noise, think about things, and sit with what you've got. You need to do that, and that is honestly the secret on making money in the market. It's not day trading. A lot of fuss is made about day trading, and I think it's one of the most overrated pursuits in equity investing. It's actually the sitting back and putting positions down and monitoring them. That's where the real money's made.
It is such a balancing act, and I'm interested how you train the team around you, because on one hand we internalize this idea that you've got to be a constant learner, and you read that Warren Buffett reads 500 pages a day, and there's so much information out there, and investing is a game of having an information edge, and so like that next thing that I read could be the thing that unlocks all this insight. But then at the same time, there's like so much power in reflecting on what you have consumed and being bored and shutting the emails and just thinking. Like, how do you build the structure in your team's day to like find that balance and get it right?
Well, I think you're probably right. Warren Buffett might read 500 pages a day, but Warren Buffett doesn't trade every day. Warren Buffett probably
doesn't
trades.
Even have a computer, does he?
Doesn't have a computer. I suspect that's right. So that I think that goes to the discipline around. You don't have to be doing something all the time. You can just be sitting back and thinking. And I think that's what with our team. We have over the years slowed the tempo of what we're doing down. We're not feeling like we've got to react to every news item. We're not trying to get in ahead of the company's result and then get out 2 days later. That's a false economy pursuing that sort of work. So it's all about, I know with our team, it's sitting down, it's doing the work, and don't rush it. Let's not rush it. Let's be satisfied that you've done the work. And if you're not totally sold on the story because of the works, then speak to someone, speak to an analyst, speak to a competitor. Look to an international comp co, and we're often now looking at companies. It might be a retailing company. Go and look at an international US retailer and see how they've reacted to the same sort of situation. So it's really slowing the tempo, using the full extent of our resourcing, which is, as I said, international companies, information's available, pondering more fully your options and what you should be doing, and just taking your time. And that will invariably mean, as it has with us, a much lower portfolio turnover. We're turning less stocks over. We're just sitting there. We're putting slightly bigger positions in place because we've got the sufficient confidence that the story warrants a 3% bet, when before it might have been, we'll put 1% on and we'll think about that. You put a 3% position down. It means you're a little bit more diligent about before you put it on, and you're certainly diligent about how you monitor the position. So it's really, with our team, it's been just settling it all down, do the work. No one needs to be doing something every day. The brokers might want us to be doing something every day, but as a money manager, we take our time. We'll trade when we need to. And there might be days when we've got 20 trades on. There'll be days when we don't do anything. And I think that really is how we've changed. And it's also the other critical thing, Alec, is when you're on a story that's not right, and stocks start to, some stories, there's always a problem child in the portfolio, and some stories their story will change. You need to learn the art, and we've learnt it, to be a very slow buyer and a fast seller. And that picks up on when a story changes, the thesis changes. Hang on, that's not what I heard last time we spoke to them. They've changed. You need to know very quickly whether you need to be off this horse and onto something else. So the art of learning to be a considered buyer and a fast seller is what our team is all about,
Yeah.
and we've worked very hard on getting that right, and I think that is something that we're still trying to get right. By the way, being a good seller and a fast seller when things change, you'll hear any fund manager internationally who gives an interview who's truthful will talk about the difficulties of getting the selling piece right.
Yeah.
That's the tough bit, getting the selling piece right. And we continue to work hard on getting, as a team, getting our selling discipline right.